Good morning. Good morning. You should be able to hear me now. If you're asking about the sound. Perfect, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. Buenos días, bonjour, calimera, bom dia, buongiorno. This session will be in English, but I know you are joining us from many countries. So I hope you can follow us, and welcome to today's seminar about eNotices2. And where you are active users of this new application. So as you know, the old eNotices application was closed for submissions on the 31st of January. And that was the end of the standard forms that have been used since 2015, the 2015 regulation. And this change is mainly why many of you are here today, because you, along with all the other public buyers across the European Economic Area and beyond, have to use this new format, which is called eForms, which is implemented with eNotices2, the application. So you can still consult your old notices in the old application until the end of June, but there's no further submissions and there is no migration of your information. The only thing that you will carry over is your EU login. So you log in with the same account. And we'll see how you can import notices into eNotices2. So eNotices2 conforms to the 2019 eForms implementing regulation. So it's about 4.5 years ago, the regulation was published. And that the transition period started in November 2022. So eNotices2 has been available since then. And it became mandatory, eForms became mandatory on the 25th of October last year. There was a tolerance period to help allow people more time to switch until January this year. So if you're using eNotices2, and before you use eNotices, it's because you don't have a service provider or an e-procurement platform that provides a service for you. So in many countries, there are e-senders or e-procurement providers you can use to submit notices. If not, we have the eNotices2 application to help you. So as you have certainly seen by now, the new forms follow a new logic. So the forms are based on the data rather than on a PDF layout. It's not a paper form or a PDF form anymore. It's a data structure of information. So there are 40 forms as part of the eForms regulation. Before there were 25, and there are many more fields. You have seen by now. The volume of fields is significant. Many of the fields are optional, and we'll also see, and you know, well, some of the fields become mandatory under certain conditions. So filling in the forms is more complicated, we know, and there are rules to ensure that the data is consistent. So that's the extra work, and that is what we are here to help you become familiar with that. On the practical side, there are some improvements in the workflows. So for example, now we can publish faster than 5 days. So your notices can be on the official journal much quicker. We'll see that. So these webinars are designed to help you get familiar. We had 3 webinars in September, October, November last year. We are repeating them now to bring you up to speed. So if you've seen the previous webinars, you might recognize many aspects today. There will be a little bit of repetition, but I also want to show you some more features or other alternatives. Okay, just to check, this is happening online, so we hope that the connection works well. And if there's any problems, we have a strong support team behind the scenes helping out. So Jenny and Panos, Ilenia, Enrico, Marco, I have colleagues with me behind the scenes making this possible, and they will also help with the questions and answers later. So right now we will have about 1 hour of showing you some forms. So today we will do a contract modification, some options about results, as that is quite hard. There will be a break for 30 minutes, half an hour, around 11 o'clock, and around 11:30, we will have half an hour to try to answer your questions. So this session, it's been recorded. So that is happening today. And the recordings will be made available on YouTube. So if you want to watch it again, it'll be available, and you can also share with colleagues who might not been able to reach it today. We have muted your microphones to make it easier, and thank you for turning off your cameras, because that will make it more, the application will run better with that. So any questions you can send in the WebEx chat, which some of you have found. And please ask your questions there. If you ask questions in English, we will be able to handle them. We have some capacity to understand some of your languages, but we'll give priority to the English ones. And if you ask in other languages, we will, in any case, collect all the questions and consolidate them into a question and answer document, which we will share in the coming, after the event. And we will try to also answer your questions in other languages. We'll use some translations to help. Okay, if you have any further questions afterwards that you can't ask today, you can contact the help desk, the TED Helpdesk, through the contact form in eNotices2. We are aware that you have many, many questions, and the help desk are taking some time to reply. So we apologize for that delay in getting back to you. We hope this webinar might provide some answers, so that you don't need to contact the help desk, but we know it's a lot of work for many of you. So the session today is actually a rescheduled version from the one we invited you to last week. We had many people wanting to attend last week's webinar, so we chose to split the groups based on experience. So those of you today are the ones who have said that you know eNotices2 a little bit, or quite well, or very well. So you're a bit more advanced. Last week we did colleagues of yours or other buyers who said they knew eNotices2 not at all, or almost nothing. So last week's one was designed more for really basics. So we started with a contract notice, which is simpler, and some more basic concepts. And today we'll try and do slightly more advanced concepts as well. But we will share the webinars, the recordings of both, so you can check so no one misses out. So thanks for your flexibility in coming today. And let's see, we know we have colleagues, participants who might come from e-senders or the service providers. You're welcome to attend, but it's not designed to answer your questions. You can contact us separately, and we had a workshop yesterday. And colleagues from EU institutions. We know there are several of you registered today. So EU institutions in general should be using the internal PPMT tool. And the only reason you should need to come to eNotices2 will be for contract modifications. But we will work also with our colleagues to give you some guidance on that. So you can ask your questions, but we won't address them today. We'll work with you separately. And also the colleagues from European Investment Bank, European Central Bank, and the Council of Europe Bank. Also, you can contact us directly. We can have some specific cases for you. So today, the majority of you are from Greece, Spain, Italy, France. So these are countries where there are fewer or no service providers, e-procurement platforms that you can use. So you must come to us. In other countries, there are other providers, or there's a national platform that everyone uses. We also know that most of you only send a few notices per year, per month. So we're aware that eNotices2 is not something you come to every day. So the familiarity is a challenge. Yes, so in some countries, for example, in Germany, you must use a provider. You should not be submitting through eNotices2. So if you are submitting through eNotices2, that's not what is expected in Germany. You should find a provider or use a central service from the ministry. In Portugal, there is a central system that's been set up, but it's having some delays. So that's why you're with us for now. Okay, so yes, I will demonstrate using Directive 24, the general directive. That is the most commonly used one, but you'll see the concepts are the same, even if you're in different forms for different directives. So I know your terminology is more your national legislation, but you should know if you're in a sectoral one or concessions or defense. Structurally, the forms are similar, and it's just certain sections and forms, parts of the forms which are different. When I demonstrate now, you will see sometimes I've set up some things already to go a bit faster, so I can get to the more interesting features. So I'll try to explain what I've set up already. For example, I have already created some organizations in my address book, so I can import them quickly when I'm filling in the forms. And also when you registered, thank you for replying. We want to have a usability study later this year. It will only be a few small numbers, but we want to get a cross section of users, more experienced, less experienced users, a geographical mix, so we can get your feedback about how to improve the application, because we know we have plenty of work still to do to make it easier to use. Some features are just the nature of eForms, that is the structure of the information. So we cannot fundamentally change the structures or the fields that you must fill in, and even some of the rules which are required because the regulation requires them to be mandatory under certain conditions. But we want to see how we can improve the parts that are under our control. So here we are continuously trying to improve that. Okay, I have introduced enough, so some of you might know that already. I will start sharing my screen. This one. Okay. Yes, you should be seeing my screen now. The eNotices2 homepage, which you will know from now. I'll just show you briefly a couple of things. So the regulation itself, in case you haven't seen it, this is the implementing regulation of eForms that has defined, that's why we're all here today, and why we have developed this application. So it was published in September 2019. And here you can also see in your own language what is available. So for example, Spanish. Here I'm using the consolidated version because the regulation has been amended twice already. So currently the application is using the second amendment from 2022, which moved some fields. It wasn't fundamentally different, but it makes some differences, and that's what we're using. And there's a new amendment that came in December that will be implemented this year, which will add more fields, but they're optional fields. So this is the introduction to the regulation, why we have the 40 forms, because they are mapped to the existing directives. And most of the information is available as a long table with the business terms and which forms each term is available in. So this is a long document. We'll see the descriptions of each forms we have integrated inside the application, so that it's easier to see it directly. So just if you haven't seen the regulation, you can read it briefly, at least to get an overview. And just to show the previous webinars, We've sent you the links, you can see them, just to show that you can have auto-generated subtitles to the webinars thanks to YouTube. So if you choose closed captions and you choose your language, you can see that it makes an attempt to translate what I'm saying, and hopefully it's not too bad. It's not perfect, but so just if you want to watch it again and get a bit of support in your language. Okay, so I will demonstrate today in what we call the preview environment. So if you go to the homepage, there's also a link to the preview environment. So I'm in this preview environment, which looks and behaves and is configured exactly the same as the live production environment. So if you want to play and try things out and even submit notices, there is no risk they will end up in the official journal. You can do whatever you want, try everything out, you know, make a mess, fix things and undo things, and there's no risk that your notice will end up published on TED. So we encourage you to try this out. You do need a different EU login account, and but this is a very useful place you can try things out. So that's what I'm going to show today in this environment. I will submit and you'll see it works. And if you submit a notice, there is a simulation of publication on TED to change the status of the application of the notice. So at 3 p.m. every afternoon, the notice is exported, so it gets included in the next edition. And at 4 p.m., an hour later, it switches to the published status as if it had gone onto the TED website. And we'll see the notice status has to advance to help you make a change notice or to continue a procedure. So you can simulate the life cycle of a notice in this environment within an hour. You don't have to wait until the next morning. We also encourage you to read the help page, which is translated like the rest of the application. So we keep building also all your questions today. We will try to get the most common ones to put them onto the help page. And if you cannot get your answer here, you can contact the help desk. Again, we're taking some time to reply to you. But if you do contact the help desk and you want the help desk to have a look at your notice, you can delegate the access to the help desk. If you go to account settings, it's also available through here, settings. And here there's an option to delegate. So delegation can be used to share with a colleague. So if you're on holiday, you can allow a colleague to work on your notices. That's one way to share. But if you want to delegate to the help desk, you just choose this and then you can share it with them. And that will give them a chance to look at your notice for your specific cases, because a lot of the difficulties are very specific rules which are blocking you, and it's a combination of information only in your notice that is a problem. So we know it's quite difficult. Again, we know that I will do a demonstration and things will work quite smoothly. I have prepared this. I try to finish in 1 hour. We know in reality things are more complicated and the combinations are hard. But I want to show you the main things to avoid the most common types of errors. So today you will see I am in an organization and I will work with a work group. So I won't show that today. I showed it briefly last November. But work groups are similar to the ones on eNotices, and this allows you to share notices with other people, other users in the application. The advantage is I am in a work group. Today I will pretend I'm the Diputación de Barcelona. So in this work group, these are the notices. If I had other colleagues, we would work on them together. But I could be part of other work groups. You'll see in my other demos. I've been in Dublin, I've been in Warsaw. I participate in lots of work groups for my demonstrations. And you can also set up a structured organization. This is more of a constraint, but you can have different hierarchical organizations. But I recommend maybe just get started with work groups as the first part. If you're in the work group, there are form settings and default values which apply in your work group, which can vary in each work group you're in. So here, for example, okay, I'm the only one today. But before you get started, we recommend you go to your form settings. This will help you a lot. You can set your default language. That's always useful. Most of you will always be working in the same language, and especially the currency is particularly useful because if you fail to put the currency in all your amounts, you will get errors. And if you do this, it helps a lot. And you can also limit the choices of the directors you use. If you only do concession, there's no point. You don't care about defense procurement. And this will then limit the choices of notices you use, the types of forms. And you can even limit this even more. So when you create a notice, you will get a much smaller list. And if that's what you use all the time, that's much easier. And the default values as well, if you're always using the same, if you're always the same buyer, you can fill these in. If you always work in the same country, this can help just save some time. So just to say, you might notice that some things are filled in. And the address book also, you can have organizations which you use on a regular basis, and then you can import them. So you'll see, I'll use that later. Okay, that takes a while. Right now, I will show you a contract modification. So today, I'll rather work a little bit backwards in the sequence of events. The contract modification is like almost the last stage of a procedure. You've assigned a contract already, and you've awarded it, but maybe there's an amendment to the contract. So I will show how to amend it. So I found a notice which has been awarded not long ago. I will demonstrate notices that are in already in the eForms format, because that'll be a bit quicker. On last week's webinar, I show a case where the previous notice is in the old format, and I have to import it and convert it and fill in some information. So it takes time, but it's possible. Today, I will stay just within, assuming I'm already in eForms, and I'm just changing one that already has an eForms structure. So this is the one I'm looking for. It's in Andalusia, about security, road safety. It has 2 lots, and for different parts of Andalusia. So the first thing I will do, I will take the publication number. This is how you identify things on TED once they're published, and I will import it here. And this is, what is it? Road safety. So this is the name of the procedure. This is just for my internal process purposes, to make it easy for me to know what I'm talking about. It's not this is not published. This is just my procedure. And what has happened as the eNotices2 has imported it from TED. If it was in the old structures, the old forms, it would have converted it and filled in as many fields as possible when it brought it into eNotices2. This was already in eForms, so it's not, it should be the structure should be the same. Maybe some small things to be done. And you see it's already published. So I can't edit this one. This result is already done. But in this case, I'm going to continue the procedure. So this is a contract modification. I'm not going to change the result because my award has finished. I have a contract. I'm not changing the fact that I awarded the contract. I'm going to amend the contract. So there's a difference between a change notice and a contract modification. A change would mean I made a mistake possibly when I awarded it and I want to update something, or I want to add some information I missed out. In this case, I'm modifying the contract. It's contract modification. The only option I have when I continue it here, the next step is a contract modification. And here I am in the contract modification. So the structure of what I have is basically the same as the result. I have my buyer, I have my procedure, I have my two lots, I have my result, and I have an extra section. So it's basically a result with a bit of extra information about what I'm actually going to modify. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to add 1 million to the contract, and I'll see what happened. So the first thing I want to modify is we will change this label, but I'm pointing to the notice I'm trying to modify. So as I said, this is the result. And I'm now going to modify that result. Why am I changing it? So I have to explain what's going on. So I will say I couldn't predict a change, something happened. And what I'm going to say is, I need to improve road safety in Sevilla. So I'm going to change lot 1 because that's a subset of what I'm doing. And what section am I going to change? And here I'm going to look at my result. I'm going to refer to the contract I need to change. So if I have a quick look at my result, I'm jumping around. But in my result, I see this is a contract I'm trying to change. And this is contract 1. So, okay, let's assume I know, because I know what I did. There are 2 contracts. This was contract 1 for lot 1, the numbers, but this is just a technical identifier, but I have to refer to that identifier. So I will modify, the section will be contract 1, 01. It's a technical identifier internally, and I'm going to say increase value by 1 million. That's my basic explanation of what's going on. So it's a bit like a similar idea to a change notice. I'm going to republish the information. I'm going to say what I have changed. In this case, I'm modifying a contract. So it's a very specific type. And now I will actually make these modifications. So this is a value of all the contracts. So the 2 lots here. So my total of all the contracts will go up. It's nice and simple. I will just say I add 1 million in this case. And then the contract itself doesn't have the value. It's the value from the tender. So I need to find the tender that I had. The contract 1 was linked to tender 1 in this case. And here I will add 1 million. Okay, and the rest stays the same. I'm not changing anything else. It's just the amount of that particular case. The rest of the result I could say. So I will now validate, and we'll see if something's changed. What can change? So it is possible that the notice I have imported from before, even if it's already in eForms, the rules and specifications change from time to time. What you might see sometimes as the SDK, the software development kit. This is the specifications of each version of the forms. They do evolve every few months, and the rules that applied a few months ago might be different now. So the rules tend to get a bit stricter as we improve data quality, or we some rules which maybe were too strict have been loosened. So when I validate, it could be that my result is no longer valid. And indeed, I mean, I get these the long list of errors, which we all see far too often. Okay, there's only 2 errors here. They're just very verbose, this one. And this particular error is an example of a rule we need to change because it's not correct, which will change in the next couple of weeks. But to get past the validation, I need to jump to the error. And the mistake here, which we need to correct, is that this particular field cannot be provided for contract modifications. So that's a mismatch between the rule and the screen. So I will just get rid of those 2. can unselect completely. And now if I validate, it should be okay. So I validated successfully and I can submit. I'll just show you back in modification. So this is the way it's set up now. We are making a change that should be available maybe next month as well. I show you a screenshot of what it will look like. So the future modification structure is a little bit different. The label is a bit clearer, so it's the identifier of what you're changing. You will identify explicitly the contract. So if you see what we had here, you can, it just says any section. So you could modify other things than the contract, and currently they're mixed together in the same identification. And in future, we'll separate that. There will be one field just to refer to the contract, and then a separate field to refer to other changes that might be there. So it'd be much more clear that you refer to the notice, you refer to the contract, and why you change the contract. And then separately, if you want to change something else, it'll be a separate field. So just to show that what I'm showing today will change probably next month. It should be a little bit clearer. Okay, so I'll just submit that notice. I'm happy. Again, you also get these questions. If you want to update the default values, you always get an option. Here I'm happy because actually normally I work in Barcelona, and here I'm doing something for Sevilla, for Andalusia. I won't touch it. Here, I think just to remind you how we do the workflow. I can choose to publish as soon as possible. This means the next available official journal issue, which if you validate successfully in the morning, be in the internal systems at the publications office. In the afternoon, we collect everything that's available that can be published. And the next day, the next morning, it's going to be published on TED. So now in the morning, if I say as soon as possible, it will be online tomorrow morning. Today's Thursday. There's an issue tomorrow on Friday. It'll be okay. If it was Friday, it would be Monday. And alternatively, I can choose to postpone the publication. So, if I say tomorrow, it doesn't make any difference, but I could choose something in the future. And so we publish Monday to Friday as before. This hasn't changed with eForms. But if you choose you prefer a date, you will get a choice of dates. So we see that on Easter Monday, there's no official journal. The 1st May, Europe Day, Whit Monday, so there's a few gaps that days are not done. But I will say as soon as possible. It's submitted. And if I go back to my notices, I will get something here. And here you will see also, which is new since January, I think. We now share the expected publication date. So I submitted today, and I will get a response confirming that it is possible for tomorrow. So this means that tomorrow morning I should get notification that it's in the official journal. Okay, that was a content modification, which we haven't seen before. I'll now try to show you some options for results. And I will try to speed up because I've spoken too much. So as an example, I will take another real notice. So this is in Barcelona, the Diputación de Barcelona. And they are responsible for roads. And I have taken an option about road marking. So all the paint you put on the roads to say how to navigate. And I will award this. So I will have the winners for these two lots, for the east, the oriental and the occidental, the east and the west of the area around Barcelona. It's 300 municipalities working together. So I will import it from TED. And what is this one? This is Barcelona road. documents. This is just so I can identify them and I can tell them apart. So here's my competition. It was published not long ago. I was super fast at evaluating the offers, and I'm going to award it now. So continue procedure and result. So as we know, results are quite hard work. There's lots of information to link together so that you get the right information. Again, I've imported it from TED. What I'll do now is just to check validation to see if I need to tidy anything up before I get to the result. And we'll see there are a couple of questions. So now, indeed, these sort of errors you get about something ND, something is missing, element is mandatory. We know these are very ugly messages, and these are the most difficult ones to figure out because there's nothing to take you to the right section. So we're working to see how we can improve this, but in the meantime, you have to try to find what it could be. In many cases, there's usually a hint in the name of what is missing, of what you need to fill in. So in this case, it's talking about tendering terms, awarding terms. So something is missing in the award. So if I go into to the procedure, no, it's this one here. So what is the award criteria for this one? And we see it was mandatory, and I didn't fill it in. So it means that before maybe it wasn't mandatory, and now it is. I need to improve the quality. I should have described what it is. So here I will say quality. We want the best. Okay, yes, and I have to describe a bit more. So either I put in the numbers, you put in there 50%, 100% or whatever. In this case, I'm going to be a little bit lazy, and I just say, see the procurement documents. This is not the best practice, but it's an option you can do, and it's happy. Okay, so I'll try again. Now I have the other one to do, the other lot. Tendering terms. Again, quality. You want the best, and this is Occidental, the best for the West. And I need to fill this in as well. If I didn't put the criteria, I need to say why I didn't put the criteria. And here I will say, because I'm sending you to read the documents. Ideally, you would put the criteria so it's easier for suppliers to know what to do, but not mandatory. And here, okay, this is quite obvious. I'm doing a result, I'm missing the result section. That's quite bad, quite obvious. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to show how to award the lots. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to award lot 1, but not lot 2. So I have 2 lots, and I will award them separately. And I can have as many results as needed until I finish the procedure for all the lots. So imagine there's a gap in time between the 2 lots. So first of all, I'll come back to the result in a second. That's the overall information. So the tendering party is the tenderer, which may be a group of tenderers. So it could be a consortium. So I'll say this is just an internal name I will have. So traffic services group. Now I forgot. I have to have my organizations in this notice. It's not there. So I should have done that before, but I can add them now. So here are my organizations, which, as you've seen in eNotices and eForms, eNotices2 and eForms, each organization only exists once, but can have multiple roles. So if one organization wins 5 lots, they will only exist once, and I will link it 5 times. So the information is not repeated. So already this is me, I'm the buyer, and I could add a new organization, but I will import it from my address book, which I set up before, because in this case, maybe I always work with the same organizations. I think there's a bug here that loses. No, I didn't fill this in. So this is a local company in Barcelona. That's good. And I will import another one. There's a company based in Luxembourg who will also participate. They provide paint for roads. They provide paint all over Europe. Let's assume these are the companies who tendered for this lot. So now I will go back to my result, and my companies are ready to become tendering parties. So here was Traffic Servicios. So the main company is Traffic Servicios SA. Like if it was a consortium, I would say add new, and I would have the other one. Paint Europa would be a consortium. And there I would have a leader and not a leader. In this case, I will show you that Paint Europa is a subcontractor of Traffic Servicios. So we have this one. Again, you could have multiple consortium, and each member of the consortium might also have its subcontractors. So you can have all the information grouped together, and all of this group, the tendering party. Then they will send a tender. So they haven't won anything yet. So even if you have tenders that don't win, you can enter this information optionally. There's no obligation, but you could if you wanted to. In this case, I must put at least one because I want to award a contract. So I will say I got for lot 1, I got this tender. This is just the way I identify them myself. Maybe I have a naming convention. I can say, okay, they came first. That's optional information. And I will say the value. So this is good. I should share the information if I can. Which one, how much it was. And here I have to link things together. So this is a tender for which lot? This is just words. This is actually linking it together. I'm going to do it for the first lot. I'll just, if you don't mind, this particular example had the same name for the lot. It was a bit confusing. So that's Oriental. And this one was, that's Occidental. Sorry, the title was the same in the original one, which is a bit confusing. Because when I have the tender, I'm doing it for lot 1, which is Zona Oriental. That's the east. And the tendering party was that group I have just set up. So here I'm linking. So in the result, it's all about linking. So we recommend you sort of figure out all your tendering parties, your tenders, your contracts, and the results. Plan it before, and when you go into here, you link it together. If you don't link things together, you might not be able to identify the winner. So we'll see if you stop short from the end. So that link is very important. Here I happen to have subcontracting, so the order of the fields is a bit confusing here. If you choose that subcontracting is known, not known, if I say it's known, I must enter it. The percentage is known, I must enter it. So, for example, I say the percentage is going to be 30%. I don't know the value. I don't know, so I don't fill this in, but I'm going to say, I don't know, blue paint from Luxembourg. So maybe they have in the subcontractor, that's why I went with them. Then this tender, we probably should change the order here. I have my tender, and now from the tender, I will have a contract. So maybe I have a number for the contract. I chose the winner. I finished my evaluation 2 days ago. Maybe I signed the contract yesterday, and straight away I will publish the information. Again, I could give it a title. I could publish it on the internet. Okay, and now again, which tender led to which contract? I must link this one. This is a link in here. This is an optional field. Who signs the contract? This is the buyer is the one who signs the contract. There might be another organization linked to the buyer, but just in case this looks confusing, it's the one who is purchasing, not the suppliers, even if they also sign. And if you want to report, if you use any EU funds, this will be very appreciated by the public authorities in your country to be able to report on the use of EU funds in your country. There's a full list of, if you add it here, if you happen to have it. Again, optional, but these are things in eForms which allow to provide better reporting options. So the results of the lot, and this is the last step. I've put it all together. Finally, did I have a winner or not? And here I say I have a winner, this particular case. They won lot 1, Zona Oriental. I received this tender, and it ended up in this contract. So these 3 steps are crucial. If you don't fit on these 3 steps, I don't link together the tenders, the contract, and the lot. And so we have a winner. Okay, so and there's some more reporting. If I'm buying clean vehicles, maybe I'm part of the directive, and I can give more information. I can talk about the other tenders that were sent. I can talk about if there was a review request. I can give statistics. This is all very useful information so that the better policy can be monitored through this information. So you are supporting something at a more national level. So for example, I say I only got 1 tender, and maybe I can add more information. Maybe they're all from SMEs, so this is good. I'm showing that I am breaking things into lots so that smaller companies can participate. This is a good practice. Again, there's validation in here to make sure the numbers add up. And now we'll see, did I get it right? I missed something. This is the most difficult message because I have missed something out. Well, there must be some mandatory field I have forgotten. What have I missed? So one option, if you get this message, often there's one mandatory field which is missing, but the application is not able to tell me exactly which one. Okay, I'll try to validate again. So this is a live demo, and this is very realistic. Let's go to the result. I'll fill in. I know what's missing actually. Well, here I have a winner. Because I have a winner and I've given it amount, I must complete this field. But it could be because I have a lot which I haven't attributed here. So I need to go to decide what has happened with this lot. When I have 2 lots in my result, I will need to give an answer for each of them. So either I award this lot, that's what I've done, but I have to decide what to do with this lot. I have 2 options. Either I simply remove it and the result will only have 1 lot. This is fine. I can, if I want, have a bit more information, and I'd say for lot 2, I haven't finished yet. I don't have any tenders yet, but I want to have another result for lot 2. So this is the lot 1 result. And here I add a new result for lot 2. As you see, when you have add new, it clones your information. And I will say for this lot, the winner was not chosen, but the competition is still ongoing. I don't, and then there's no, sorry, I need to reply. I'm referring to this lot, the West, but I have to clear this out. I didn't get any tenders. I don't have a contract. And I need to just get rid of this additional information that I had, because there was no information. So I just tidy it up. This is optional. So that option saying it's still ongoing is just to inform people saying, I know I haven't given you anything about lot 2, but I'm just telling you I'm still working on lot 2. If you want to do some simpler, you just simply remove the lot and say, I'm not talking about this lot. So I missed the mandatory fields. So what am I missing? Oops, mouse. I can try this option. Tender parties, contracts, tenders. Something is missing. No, this is very realistic, because I'm sure you've hit those. And I must have added something which has disturbed the system. Maybe I'll just get rid of some information. Sometimes I must have added something that has caused a problem. And a contract, maybe. Sometimes it's just a combination of information which is missing. Yes, I have subcontractors. So I have probably failed to provide the right information. Here I have one subcontractor. Subcontractors can cause problems. Okay. I have a subcontractor indicator which is missing somewhere. In the tender, must be one of these ones. Yes. So in here, I talked about the tender, and I have talked about why I'm subcontracting, and one of these values, yes, here. So we have to reorder this section here, because here I didn't say yes, there is some subcontracting. So all the section was saying something was missing. So yes, I wanted to demonstrate subcontracting because of those particular errors, and I fell into my own track. So we will move these fields around so that this is the first question you get asked, and then the order of the questions will be more successful. Okay, I validated, and this is good. I can submit it. And I'll say I'll submit it as soon as possible. Okay, that's my result is done. We're a little bit short of time. Okay, I'll go very quickly now. So there, what I have done is the competition, and I've given the result for the first lot, and I've said that the second lot will come later. At the same time, imagine I publish this, and then 2 hours later, I know I can award the second lot. So I can go ahead and I can send another result straight away, even if the other one hasn't been published yet. And I will quickly show how to do that. If you bear with us, we take a break. So I'm in the result now. I'm in my result. I don't care about lot 1 because I've ordered it. So I will simply remove it. So here I will show how I will attribute just one result, one lot at the time. So this is my second result, which is on the west. Actually, yes, I will show how there was a tenderer with no winner. So this will be a lot with no happy end. So this is Paint Europa group. I will keep it simple. I will avoid subcontracting. I will import just one tenderer. Okay. Now go to my result. Tender and party. Just Paint Europa, no subcontractor. Keep it simple. They did tender. Okay, I will say they did tender for lot 2 because that's what I had. And it was that group. So I am linking it together. But I didn't sign a contract. So I will leave this entry empty because there was no contract. And I will say the result of this lot, there was no winner. And that's the end of the story. So lot 2 did not result in a winner. What happened? Well, maybe I just ran out of money. So insufficient funds. So I got a tenderer, and before I could complete it, I was told my budget had been cut. So for lot 2, nothing happened. But I will declare. I don't have to declare that there was a tender. I could have just said, lot 2 closed. This is an example of where I have a tender, but with no winner. So I'm being transparent that this company did successfully tender. And that's it. Oh, awarding terms. Yes, I forgot. I had to tidy this up. Best. Okay, right. No subcontractors. I didn't fall into the trap. And I've submitted it. And here maybe I just say I'm going to publish this on Monday. Distinguish them here. Okay, that's my publication. So I've just shown how to award one lot with a winner and say that the other lot was still ongoing. And then my other result, which came almost in parallel, I didn't award the other lot and I closed that one. So if you have a contract notice, if you've started it, if you want to cancel the procedure or cancel a lot, the solution is always to award, but to reach a result. And if there's no winners, that's how you close a lot. So every lot has to end up in a winner was chosen or no winner was chosen. And I showed you the option saying no one is chosen yet. That's an optional one. But the first 2, every lot should end up in one of the 2 other options, winner or no winner. And if you want to cancel, that's how you do it, no winner. You don't have to say what happened, you just say it finished and you have a justification. Okay, I will just show what it looks like on the screen. So if I preview in HTML, which was this one. Okay, it's in Spanish. So here, hopefully, results lot 2, no winner, it's closed. And optionally here, I did have a tender. So thanks to those links, I can put that information together. If I didn't link things together, I would not reach those conclusions, and that information wouldn't be visible. So it's important you get your links right. This is the one where we had a winner. So section 6 is results. There was at least one winner, and this is all the information about the winner and subcontracting and so on. The statistics I provided. And here I say for lot 2, it's still ongoing. That's what I said. And here are my organizations. So if I didn't link things together, I wouldn't see these organizations. So make sure you complete those links. Okay. If you have 5 more minutes, I will just show you the direct award pre-announcement, the voluntary ex-ante transparency notice. 2 long ways of saying that I didn't have a call for competition for different reasons. I've pre-filled this one just to go a bit faster. So again, I'm the Diputación de Barcelona. I have a procedure. I had a particular one, I called it the VIP road markings. It's a particular case. So when you have special visitors, you have special road markings. And just a word about a group of lots. It's always available, but it's something that was introduced with eForms, which can work in certain conditions if certain lots have common award criteria and so on. Unless you really need it, we recommend not to use it. There are some countries who just chose not to use it because it just adds a layer of complexity to your notice. So we want to change something in eNotices2 that would hide it, and you would have to actively show it again. So avoid group of lots unless you really must. I forgot to say that earlier. So I'm going to the result of a direct award. Sorry, I should, before I get to the result, I should say what I'm doing. In the procedure, yeah, sorry, I went too fast. This is a procedure. It's negotiated without a prior call for competition. I'm going straight to the award. I'm saying why it's happening. So there's a long list to justify from what is available, what is allowed in the directives. And here I'm saying, for technical reasons, there's only one company that can provide gold paint. So imagine I want to paint the roads gold for my VIP because I know Donald Trump likes gold and we will paint the road for him if we had that scenario. And I have to give this to only one contractor. It's the only one in the market. So for 500,000, the structures are the same. I have the result of my notices. I have my tendering parties. Traffic servicios can do it. The tender, as in the offer they made me that I will award to directly, is a classic tender. It's a contract. So all those parts are the same as a normal result. The only difference is when I get to the result, there's no choice to say that there was a winner chosen or not. So the winner is implicit. So we just skip that part about saying if the winner was chosen or not. And here I just link things together. I left this part still to do. So I got one tender for this lot for this contract. And I think that should validate. Yeah. So that's the direct award. Very similar to a result, just that there's no definition if there was a winner or not. The winner is implicit. Okay, we're overrunning a bit, so I will just submit that. And it's off. So I'm in preview. So this afternoon, if I came back, all my test ones, they would switch from submitted to publishing. Publishing means that it's going to go in the next one and I can't stop it anymore. Published means it's on TED. I can go and see it. And normally I should have got an email telling me all these steps. And I think I might have shown this, but when something is in submitted status, you can always stop it. So before it gets in to the official journal, you can stop it and say, oh, I forgot something. So I will just show, I will stop it. I forgot something, hang on. I will just refresh. It'll be in status stopped. So that version of the notice is going nowhere. I'm sure stopped means nothing. So you don't have to contact the help desk for this. You can do it yourself. I want to do something. I'll stop it before it goes out. I will resubmit. I get a chance to change what I want to change. Maybe I made a mistake. In fact, it was maybe a 6,000, oops, no. 600,000, my tender as well, so total and the individual one. Okay, validate that one. Submit as soon as possible. So if you want more time, you can choose a date. If you want as soon as possible, okay, it's still the morning, I should be okay, I can still change it. So in the afternoon, it might have gone off. So this is the one that's going to be published, version 2. If I miss it and I still want to change something, then I can change something that has been published already. So you either stop before it enters the publishing process, or you change it after it's been published. In between, you can't touch it because you can't stop it, and you have to wait for the notice to be published before you can change it. So if I did want to change that competition, well, it's a bit late now because I've already had a result, but suppose I want to change. Just want to add information. I showed this last week, so this is just a brief reminder. A change notice is very different to how it's been done until now. So it's not the Form 14 where you just send the difference. A change means I republish everything. So it's like a consolidated version. I update what needs to be updated, and I explain what I have updated. So here, for example, actually, I would want to change this one because the title of the lot wasn't very good. Repeated it, and I wanted to improve this. It was wrong title. That's actually a useful change. I want to give two titles, different titles to the two lots. And in the change section, I would just say updated lot titles. And here in the section, I want to say, what have I changed? And I have different options. Did I change the buyer, the procedure? What did I do? So I am going to say I changed lot. This is how I point exactly to the section that I changed. So updated title. I didn't change the procurement documents. And in fact, I changed two lots. So normally I should have another one, another change. Then I also changed lot 2. And that should validate. And I will submit the change. Don't update. That's as soon as possible. So there's my change. Or change notice. And if I see this one, this is how you can help your readers to know what has changed. So my titles will be changed somewhere in here. At the bottom, there's my information. I changed lot 1, updated the title. I changed 2, updated title. So this will help your user. And the good thing is this notice is the latest version. There's no need to go through all the history of notices to see what the information is today. It's the latest version will be there. And on TED, on the TED website, if you're on an older version of the notice, it will say there is a later one, go and have a look. And when you go there, everything will be complete. So you can really help your suppliers keep up with what you're doing, and they will always be able to see the latest version. That's a change in eForms, which helps a lot. Okay, I'm sorry to have overrun. I guess I had a realistic error, which was difficult to fix. So we know there are these problems with error messages, and you know that's what takes the most time. So if you get questions like that one, like your notice is not complete, maybe validate, you know, from time to time, and when something fails, try to go back to the one you just added and see if that is what caused the trouble. So some of the things we need to improve on the layout so you don't fall into those sort of mistakes. Some of them should be obvious as you go along. There is also what happens is the asterisk tells you what is always mandatory. But in some cases, if you fill something in, then another field becomes mandatory. So for example, in a result, there's a field like the total amount of contracts awarded in this result. It's optional because the application doesn't know yet if you have a winner and an amount. If you then go through and award something with an amount, it says, oh, you have a winner. You need to tell me the total now. So that's like a conditional mandatory one. So the errors will appear. But the application cannot tell you it's mandatory yet because it doesn't have that information. It's only when you press validate, it can reevaluate what you've entered. So there's a lot of work involved with making sure you fill in everything correctly. But in the end, the idea is to have a consistent and correct notice. So these rules are there immediately. Compared to what has been done in the past, there were some rules that eNotices would tell you, and then you submit it. Then we had a contractor on our side read in every notice. And if there were inconsistencies that they checked manually, they would reject it and tell you, and you would have to start again. The advantage and disadvantage is now you get all the errors at the beginning. Once you've passed those errors and it validates successfully, there's nothing to stop it being published on TED. And it can be on TED the next day. There's no waiting, no one's going to check it again. The automatic validation has done everything. So I will stop here. My colleagues have been collecting your questions. I suggest we break for 25 minutes, if that's okay, which would bring us to 11:40. And in the remaining 20 minutes or so, we'll try and capture the most common questions coming up with now. So thanks again. See you in 25 minutes at 11:40. Okay. Hello again, everyone. Thanks for your questions, which keep coming. So my colleagues have been busy trying to collect all your questions and group the answers. I will attempt to give a quick reply to the most obvious ones. It will be impossible to answer them all right now. I took a bit too much time before. So in the next 15-20 minutes, I'll try to jump through to give you some highlights of your questions and some answers. The general reply, so the recordings of right now will be made available on YouTube. We will also share with you the recording from last week's webinar, which answers some of your questions we see are coming in because we didn't cover them today. We will email you all when they're online, so possibly next week, but it's a bit short, but we will get in touch. And for all the questions and the answers, we will consolidate last week's one and this week's questions into one big document and maybe group them together so that you get clearer answers. That will take a little bit longer to get together, but we will also email you when they are available. So don't worry, we will get in touch and we will tell you explicitly when you can access them. And you can share them, you can watch them again. You can see if YouTube auto translates correctly. There's a lot of terminology which is different, so standard translations don't always explain things clearly. A point about translations that the labels you see on the screen, so it's available in 24 languages. You can change it on the top right of eNotices2. The translations have come from the European Commission translators, but we know that the terminology might be different in different countries. So we are going to work with the different member state ministries and agencies work with them to improve the translations we have and integrate them back into the systems, so you get something better. For some languages, there will be some negotiation about the right language because some are shared, so it won't necessarily be exactly for one country specifically if there's a variety, but we want to improve those. So a word on that. Question, yeah, one question about time zones. So you might have noticed that every date and time has a time zone. In eNotices2, it tries to default to your browser's one, but you have a choice plus or minus 12 hours. So it's all the options are available. So pay attention to that because that might be important if you're working outside your local time or you're doing for something else. If you have multiple contractors in a consortium, you can indicate the group leader so that if we see the results, I'll just share my screen because occasionally it's useful to show, even though it takes me longer. So if you have a consortium and you have multiple ones, you could say there's a leader or not, and you can repeat this group. So in the tendering parties, like a subcontractor, I could have multiple organizations in here. I can have lots of them. Subcontractors, you can have lots. But if you have many, you have to indicate the leader of the tendering party. Okay, if you export the form into XML, so that's XML is the file format of every notice behind the scenes. If you import it again, at the moment, you cannot import results from an XML. So if you want to share your notices, multiple options. So if you're in a work group, then they are by default they were shared. So any other colleague in the work group do it, but you can also share them through these actions. Sorry, this one. Where am I? You can copy them. Why can't I transfer them? Sorry, you can take the whole procedure. So the whole everything goes together. So sorry, it's not a notice itself. It's the whole procedure or the group that all goes together. And you can transfer to another user directly, to a colleague, and that will appear in that thing. Or you can transfer to another context, which could be one of your other work groups. So you can move things around and they appear on the other side. So they disappear from here and appear there. You can also delegate access, I showed in your settings. And that if you're on holiday, you can also say, and if you have the email, you can share it that way. And in organizations, also structured organizations, you can go up and down and reach things that way. Okay, exclusion grounds I showed last week. Exclusion grounds is hard work. We know that because you should enter all the exclusion grounds. So I'll just show quickly in a result. No, not copy, sorry. Change. You have multiple exclusion grounds, which is normally the case. You have to enter them one by one. And the default settings today only allow you to have one default. So there are two options. Well, no, there's one option is just to enter them all one by one. The other option is possibly have a template notice that has the sort of your really basic structure that you use again and again. Have it as you create one, and then you can copy that like as a template for each notice you create. So once you have a structure you're happy with, and if you tend to have the same thing again and again, that's one way to do it. And later this year, there will be a change to selection and criteria grounds to be able to indicate that to look at the procurement documents. So you could just tick that if that's your option. and also to refer to ESPD if that's available in your country, European Single Document. But yes, there is some overhead for that. About the also later this year, there will be some new forms, voluntary forms. So there will be forms for below thresholds if you want to do that for the smaller value contracts, but also prior market consultation, which is right at the start of a procedure, and also a form for contract completion at the end of your contract if you want to report on what actually happened. But they will come basically around October later this year. We had difference between a prior information notice, prior information to shorten time limits. So a PIN only, it means it just says I'm going to publish a notice soon. And a PIN to shorten time limits means I will publish it sooner than expected and I need to reduce the time limits. So it's an option in the directives that allows you to speed up the numbers. Yes, questions about address book. We've had some requests. We will try to develop at some point when we get a chance to make it alphabetical or to be able to share the address book. Your address book is linked to you as a user, so they're not shared in organizations or work groups. So maybe there are ways that could be improved. The UBO, titular real, so this is the ultimate beneficiary owner. When you have a result in your organizations and you have a winner, does this have a winner? Where's my winner? Sorry. Yes, this is an organization, for example. Until a few months ago, it was actually mandatory to say if you're a winner to also provide the information if they were listed on a public market. So it's down here. Listed on a regulated market.
If you are you sharing your screen?
Yes. Can you see it?
No. Maybe you can
sorry.
start sharing.
Sorry.
It's okay.
All this time I have not been talking. Okay, sorry. Yes, I am sharing the screen now. You can see it. Sorry. So I have this company who is a winner. I can add the information. And if there was a rule before that forced you to declare if the company is on the stock market, if it's a publicly listed company, you should choose that. And if it's not on a publicly listed in the stock market, if it's not a public company, that you could even define who the beneficial owner is, so the individual who owns the company. This was done at the time of the business registries. They were made open, and then there was a court decision that closed the business registries a bit. So this transparency part is still a little bit open for now. So there's no obligation at all to provide the beneficial owner, and be careful about using it because there's personal information in here. So this is not, it's better not to use it, but you can if you are able to publish information. What you can do without too much risk, which was it's available in the regulation, is you can put the nationality of the owner. So you can say it's a private company, but it's owned by someone, I don't know, in Monaco or someone like that. Yeah. So that is an option. But if you create a beneficial owner, you do have to link it to the organization. So that's true for every object you create. If you create an organization, it must have a role. If you create a lot, it must have a result, for example. So you have to make sure the information is linked and there's no pieces of information which are like orphaned or not referred to. Okay, something about lot results. So there's plenty of information which exists at the lot level. So the number of buyer requests and so on, these are lot results. So they don't apply to the whole procedure, they apply to that lot one by one. So some of the statistical part down here below. How many offers did they get for the lot, not for the procedure? Mandatory only. So this I showed last week. It can be helpful if you switch to mandatory only. This can help you fill in the form quickly, so you have completed the structure. This reduces the number of errors you get about missing node, missing this, missing that, the difficult errors. So one option is to fill in all your form with mandatory only. That should fill in all the structure. Then you undo it and you validate and you see what's left to be done and you fill it in. So that can help. And as I mentioned before, the mandatory fields can vary according to what you've entered. So that is a difficulty. Okay, I showed how to award a note, the lots in different multiple results. That's always good to do. And if you have very big, if you have lots of lots and you award them, it's probably better to award them in multiple results. Break it up into smaller ones, partly for performance, because if you have too many lots, the application starts getting slow. So work with them in multiple notices and publish them in chunks. Okay, date of conclusion of contract. I think there is a rule that we need to change, which allows it to award the contract on the same day as you decided. Today it has 1 day apart. The total amount of the contract is the sum of the tenders. So you can have multiple buyers. And if you have multiple buyers, you can have them in the organization. So here in the contracting party, I can have more than one buyer. Add new. So here I can have multiple buyers. But then you should also then define who is the group leader of the buyers and have these some fields down here which are exclusive to buyers. Don't use them elsewhere. If they're group buyers, if they're a central purchasing body, these parts are only for buyers. If you fill them in for anyone else, you will get errors. But if you're a buyer, you can work with that. The nuts codes, so the structure is if it's a country that doesn't have nuts codes, you won't be asked to fill them. And if it's a country that does have nuts codes, then it's mandatory. And the codes are at level 3, so they're quite granular, quite low level. There is some discussion to make it to nuts 2, which would allow to cover bigger areas, because nuts 3, if you're trying to do a whole state or a whole comunidad autónoma, you might have to fill in quite a few nuts codes. That should be simpler. There's a request for CPV. You can search by text, and there is a request. Again, we'll try and do at some point to search by code, so you can search by numbers. Yeah, we didn't cover structured organizations today. We suggest you play with it a bit in the preview environment. And this allows you to assign roles to do it. There's some roles in work groups and there are similar roles for organizations. I would say explore that and see what options work for you. You can have multiple codes, CPV codes, for example. You just put, you just repeat the group. You add new each time. So and have a look. Every time you have these add new, it means this group you're on gets repeated. So here you have to, then you have to tidy them up if you don't want them. Let's say, what is the difference between change notice and modify notice? What is a corrigendum, like updating the dates of tenders? So yes, updating dates is a very common thing. That is a change. So what you used to know as Form 14, corrigendum, is called change notice in English. I have checked the translations, but and then contract modification is a different form to amend a contract. For me, usually there's a contract amendment. So when I think contract modification, I'm thinking of contract amendment because that's the most common case. But the word that's been chosen is contract modification. So the form's a particular form. Whereas a change notice is the same notice that you're on, and it's a corrigendum or It's not always a corrigendum. Sometimes it's extra information. So that's why the word is more generic than corrigendum. But yes, corrigendum is change. Can anyone create a work group? I think normally yes. And then you can send affiliation requests. Again, play with it in preview and try it out. It should be working. How can I add members once you're in the work group? See if I can do that. I go to membership requests, and here I can create an affiliation. So I can invite. I think this is a one. I can say it's a role. So I'm going to say maybe I'm going to make them a just a member. There's no expiry. Join. This is the email they're going to get. And that's been sent to them. And then on their homepage, when this user logs in, they will get a message and they can accept the request. And then they should appear in your list here. And you can play with the roles and so on. So that's work groups. Group of locks, ignore group of lots if you can. The GLO 001 will try and hide them. It's optional. You can change the languages. Okay, it's already midday. If you can stay another 10 minutes, I'll try to wrap up as much as I can, but we have a lot of questions. Just to get a few more orally before you get them unwritten. So to show. Yes, if you have multiple people in the same work group who are able to edit the same notice, the system only allows one person to edit a notice at any one time. So if you're in big groups, then you might be working together. It locks it for the first person who's in. Yeah, I didn't show confidential fields. This allows you to hide individual fields one by one, quite cumbersome. But imagine you want to hide this value. You could say for whatever commercial reasons, whatever the directives and the legislation allows you, I want to hide this amount from the public. I will see it here. But when it goes through our back office system before it gets to TED, that information will be masked, it will be hidden, and it will not be publicly available. The spirit is that you publish the information you can, but it is presented as published later, or confidential, or unpublished. There are different words to refer to it. If you leave it empty this date, this information will never be published. You can choose to say, I want to publish it in 4 years' time. I will publish this information because the commercial reasons have passed. There's no reason, so that's good. That will mean that our systems will keep this notice in our system until this date comes and publish it again on TED, revealing the information. So your notice will do it. But we take care of that. You can put the date, forget about it, and we will remember it for the next 10 years. Or you just leave it empty, it's never published, and yeah, we can all move on. Well, yeah, about default dates. Yes, every time you publish, it offers to update your default information. That's just an option you can take because we want to encourage you to use default values. It makes your life easier, but you can ignore it if it's not useful to you. There's a question about biolegal types. So you should be able to find your biolegal type. In the past, there was an option other, which doesn't exist anymore because eForms is trying to get better data. And what we found is that people say other and they don't choose their option. And the options you get are taken from the directives. So in some cases, you might have to compromise on identifying your type of buyer and the activity. So general public services is there. So I think someone was asking about that. And the legal type, it's, yes, you might not find yourself. I mean, you have to find something close enough. And we also had a question, sometimes private organizations can be there as well if they're working on behalf of a public authority. So if they're subsidized, if they're spending public funds, you should be able to find something. But the list comes from the regulation, from the directive, so you have to try and squeeze yourself in. In some countries, there's some guidance to support to try and transpose the terminology that's used nationally into the European equivalent. You might have to ask for some advice in your country. So I'll transfer. Yes, there's some eForms which are not eForms because they're not part of the regulation, but we do support. Oops, I've limited the legal types I have in my form settings. There are other legal bases which are supported. So public passenger transport services. This is the 2007 transport regulation. It's available. You have two options there. And these are the direct awards for rail and other transport services. So you go straight in through here, and then you get there's the two fields. The two forms are available that are planned by that regulation. Yes, have a look at last week's webinar about importing old TED forms and you have to fill in the extra fields to make them look like eForms again. And you will be able to refer to them. You can say, I'm referring to, I'm awarding now the contract notice that I published 6 months ago in the old format that I demoed last week. But the process is the same. So you import from TED, you bring it in. The main difference to what I showed today is there will be more fields to fill in, quite a few more in many cases, because the structures are a bit different and there are new mandatory fields which didn't exist before. But it should work in a similar way. The help desk is very busy. Yep. Just we see all the questions we're getting now. The help desk are getting hundreds of emails as well. They do have a service level agreement, which they're struggling to cope with, but we are trying to keep up. For languages, yes, I mean, English is my first language. También hablo español, parle français, but we don't have the capacity to do live demonstrations for all of them. We'll see if we could maybe concentrate some of these scenarios into videos that we can narrate in each language and try and get amongst the colleagues, try to fill in some other languages that be done. But it's quite hard to do a live demonstration in all the languages. And even if you speak another language, the terminology is quite hard. So we work in English because that's what we are able to share the most. But we know that you are working in your own language, and that's perfectly normal. The support is not available. If you have contacts in any ministries or agencies in your country or your regions, you can also ask them for support, because ultimately they are the ministries that voted for these changes, and they should be able to provide you with national support as well, which is specific to your case, not just the general European situation. But we don't have any manuals to take you through all of this. So what we're doing is these webinars, helping you to get familiar. And if I didn't show, but if you're in here, if you press a little I, you get a description for every field. And next month, we should fill in the description for some of these other fields. If you see a little question mark, it's a hint. So some have both. There are a few hints that sometimes we are trying to improve those hints so that if you're in a form, you can get the reply directly. And these are the descriptions that come directly from the regulation. So that big table I gave you, those texts are inside here directly. So yes, some translations have to be better in all the languages. Yes, there's one suggestion is when you say add new, it clones the one you had before, which is useful often because you've taken the time to have one lot and everything is complete, and the second lot is basically the same with only a few minor changes. It's good to copy everything across. but if you don't want it all, then you've got too much useless information. So indeed, we'll see if we can have a way saying, I want to clone. I don't want to clone, I just want a new one, but leave it empty or tidy up and see what we can do there. We got so mandatory only, that's an option which can be quicker. Yes, there is a bug in the view of the information, which we will fix in the next couple of weeks. So even though you've created all the connections, you don't actually see the result in certain cases, so in section 6. So I think this point, that was your question. That's important to know. You have filled it in correctly. It's just the view doesn't show it completely. Lots of errors. We want to, yes, I said we will try to improve the way we handle the errors. So that is work in progress to have more dynamic information. So if you fill in one field, the redundant fields would be hidden. So you don't even get a choice to fill them in and then get an error. So we should try to help you along the way and try to handle those errors better. So, but it's going to take us still a few months. I don't know, maybe by the summer we can have something a bit better. Standard regime, light regime. This is something that exists in the directives. Sometimes it's the social care, education, and training. If when you say create notice, if you have a wizard, I don't get the wizard because I've chosen my forms, but that can help you choose the right form. Wait, just put them all back again. If I haven't customized the forms I want, when I say create notice, I have a wizard which will give you an option. I say yes, it's a procurement, I'm not an agency, no, it's a competition. Here, for example, you can already see I'm going to a certain directive here. This is a sectoral directive. Yes, I think so. And the light regime, yeah, actually, this we don't get an option for the light regime. The light regime is for certain social services, which are defined, but there are a few fields less. You have to have a contract award with an organization. Yes, one question about contact name and emails of organizations. So they are still mandatory for all organizations, which can be tricky for personal data. Maybe the organization is a natural person. So a change that's coming again next month is that the email address and the phone number will be optional for all organizations except for the buyer. So the buyer must have an email and telephone number. You must be able to contact the buyer. But for other organizations, you don't have to fill it in. So Frederick, that's an answer for you. There was a debate, a policy debate about whether it was mandatory, and in the end, it's been loosened. The publication dates. The publication dates when we publish, it's Monday to Friday, minus a few public holidays. And if you want to publish as soon as possible, as I said, during the afternoon, notices are collected. If that process has happened before you submit, you're going to miss the next day, so it'll be 2 days later. So okay, if you're in the UK, you can still publish notices, especially if you use an EU funds. You might get a warning that there will be a lawfulness check. And that's the only case where there's a manual check on notices. So then we will manually check in the team here at the publications office, just to be sure that even though you're not in the European Union, tragic as it is, we will still publish a notice if you're using EU funds. So don't worry, you can still submit if we will just take a day to check that. Okay, I think I should wrap up. There's so many questions still come in, but we won't get to finish them. So I will finish here. Otherwise, we'll be here. We will miss lunch. So we'll wrap up here for today. This recording will be available. We'll share that. It's not available yet. Just please give us a few days. We have to edit it, get rid of the extra information. We depend on some colleagues to help us with that, who are also busy. But you will be emailed with the recordings, and then at a later stage, we will also email you with the consolidated questions and answers. But as you can see, we have hundreds of questions and answers, and we need to consolidate them into something that can be shared. What else? So we will see if we organize webinars after Easter or in May, possibly on particular themes, that we do just one thing and we focus, because I noticed last week and this week I'm trying to show too many things. And then you can know if you're interested in that particular one. We'll see if we can do something from a language point of view to support you. But yes, it will take a few months to build up all that support material. In the meantime, get familiar. There are 150,000 notices out in eForms, so people are succeeding. So take the time to learn the system. It will take you time anyway, and we're aware of that. But we are trying to do what we can to help you. Okay, I will leave it there. Thank you again, and see you next time.